Collective.
Hello and welcome to the CNBC-TV18 special, The Future Female Forward. I'm Shireen Bhan and joining me now is Hitendra Dave of HSBC. Hitendra, many thanks for joining us here on CNBC-TV18. Let's talk about Future Female Forward, and this is a campaign that we are doing in partnership with HSBC, so thank you very much for that. But this is an agenda that you've taken up not just here in India, but HSBC has taken up globally. What's been the effort, what's been the thinking, what's been the rationale that's driving it so far?
No, so I think the rationale and the thinking typically has been that we cannot be in a state of denial anymore. Okay, we have to start accepting that there have been biases, conscious or unconscious, at play in our minds, in the minds of organizations at senior executive levels, hiring levels, promotion levels, career development discussion levels, etc. So that was the starting point, and acceptance. I think the second is we actually think as an organization that we will benefit from ensuring that there is much greater representation of diversity in the current context is gender diversity we are talking about, because we will get better quality inputs, better ways of processing the same information, which we will reflect back in the way we serve our customers. So it's also not just about undoing some past mistakes, but also benefiting from the better quality inputs you get. And the third is there is enough evidence, data are displayed to say that organizations that have women in leadership positions, women in middle management, women at entry levels, you clearly get better outcomes. So why would we not want to do this? Yeah. I mean, there is no reason not to do this as the way I see it.
Yeah, absolutely. It is the smart thing to do. It's the right thing to do, and it's the smart business thing to do as well. But what have you done in terms of institutionalizing new ways of operating, new mechanisms that have been put in place to ensure that you expand the funnel, that you build out that pipeline?
Yeah, so I think two things here, I think. One is, I think you can just make rules, X number of percentages, Y number of, one is, I think the number one thing, hopefully the top thing that me and my colleagues, and not just in India, but globally, what we're trying to do is just make ourselves aware that you're not doing anyone any favors, right? You're doing yourself a favor, you're doing the business
It's in your self-interest.
Yes, exactly. You're doing the customers a favor, you're doing the whole journey a bit of favor. So I think as you keep communicating that and validate that through data, evidence, examples of organizations that have more women and the outcomes there versus examples of organizations which are totally male, dominated. So that is the number one thing. I think the number one thing is to break this thing that we need to do this because of a historical past. That is part of it, but reality is it's good for you to do, it's the right thing to do. Then it comes to, okay, and second then is what's the tone from the top? What does the leadership, are they just doing it, and there is a lot of cynicism in this. We cannot run away from reality of some of this subject. You have to question that cynicism, you have to come down hard on it at that point of time, and you have to say, show it to me. Third is then you have to use data. I mean, there is a lot of unconscious biases we have within us, right? I mean, there are lots of examples of men get jobs on the basis of promise, but women only get jobs on the back of significant performance on display. So, you take easier bets on men. So, you bring all that out, and that's one thing. Second, then you get into the how or what changes have you done. You take women either at the entry level or middle management level and provide them whatever available in terms of coaching, career discussions, mentoring, networking opportunities. You make specific programs for women to come back to work. In many, many cases, you say that the process of hiring has to have certain women candidate names, but you also have to drive, according to me, that whoever gets the job has got it because of merit, right? Because you don't want to get a situation where someone thinks it's the other way around. So, but largely it is the leadership setting the right tone and then working thereafter with specific tools or policy changes.
How hard has it been to change mindsets? How hard has it been to sensitize the men to see this differently as well?
No, so I think I would be in a state of denial if I said, whatever we want to do, whatever we are talking about here, I get cheers everywhere. Even if I get cheered, I'm sure privately there are people who still think this is going a little on the overboard side, and that's part of any journey, right? That's part of any correction of historical biases. There is nobody has noticed the historical biases that women have had to live with, the lack of opportunities, right? I mean, women of the 30, 40, 50 years elder to us, I think, where was the opportunity? There was no chance. You had only one role in life: get married, have kids, and just look after the kids and look after the home. So yes, there are challenges. and there is a meaningful role here in communication. There is a meaningful role in role modeling. Just highlighting, for every alpha male that we highlight, we need to highlight the alpha women also, so that it brings out that these are people who are doing a great job, because of them there are, business is doing well, and the more we have of them, the more our business will do better. So it's a journey we are on. There are challenges, there is questioning, there is skepticism. I think we are chipping away each day, each week, each month, and hopefully, with events such as this, with partnerships such as this, with hiring the right people, having, like I said, the real first-class women team that we have at top levels, it will create a momentum of its own, is my sense.
We're talking about what you're doing internally within the organization to try and ensure that there is parity, equality, equal opportunity. What about external? In terms of focusing on funding women entrepreneurs, on providing access to finance to women in general, what's the thrust and the priority as far as the external aspect is concerned on dealing or serving this underserved constituency?
No, so I think my own sense is we've had historical biases against women in the hiring process, in the retention process, in the promotion process. I don't, that is the reality, okay? I think on business evaluation, it's actually been the other way around. Our own experience has been that women who are doing the hard yards of doing, the business, running a company, running up, everything, the governance and the discipline of the business has actually tended to be much better. So for us, while I'm not saying we have any pronounced bias on our lending or banking decisions, but the actual experience has been somebody who's taking it on the chin in terms of the multiple challenges that come with running a business in any case, in India in particular. And that being a woman entrepreneur, that makes it that much more difficult. We don't need to get into why it's that much more difficult. Our experience actually has been better. So I won't say sort of we have a bias towards lending, but certainly on that count, I think we are slightly better off from a business perspective.
Do you believe that there needs to be, at least as far as the financial side is concerned, a better targeting of products for women? I mean, access to finance continues to be a big challenge and a big hurdle. Do you think more needs to be done on that front?
Absolutely, right? I mean, we spoke about how my company or my firm will be better off if we have more women. I think the economy will be served better if we have more women in business, in politics, in science, in education, in everything, right? I mean, there's no denying that. And, 50% of the population, but only doing 14% of the representation work or whatever that percentage is. So I think to that extent, I think we all need to ensure that this is a subject on which there is more and more discussion, including the uncomfortable discussions which people don't want to have in the process. So I think as we talk about it more, as we have more role models, as we have more people that want to be, I'm sure there's a Shireen Bhan somewhere who's like a 5-year-old girl running around somewhere. I think it's a journey. So we are much better off than we were 10 years back. We are nowhere near where we need to be. Hopefully 10 years later, if we are still around, then, maybe we'll say, okay, we are better off than we are. We are undoing a few centuries. So let's be proportional in our expectations.
Absolutely. It will require generational change, and hopefully we're in the process of making that change happen. Let me end by asking you, any milestones that you've set of what you want to achieve, and what are the metrics that you use to measure the success of the work that you're doing?
So I think all of us, and this is not some top-down, we must do this. I think there is a genuine sense of belief in the senior management ranks that we have and the operating ranks also, that the current numbers just don't make sense. It's not. The current numbers don't seem to suggest there has been any conscious effort to do something. So whether it is hiring for specific roles at the entry levels, whether it's middle market levels, whether it's promotions, I think there is a genuine lens we now apply. Is there an unconscious bias on display here because the entire pool is only men, for example? Is it so? And that includes men questioning their own unconscious biases. We obviously have then experts who could be men or could be women, but who are experts in this space to help us overcome that if it's there. We clearly do look at the number of senior executives in our ranks, not because you want to start at the top, but then they act as role models, right? They will encourage a lot of young women to stay back and manage the 5-7 difficult years that it is there. So yes, we do have metrics. We also have a review of internal pay parity just to make sure, again, So it's not just in hiring, it's not just in promotions, it's not just in senior level roles, but it's also in pay parity. We do compare like for like roles. Is there something? And so that is data, right? And that is reviewed by external people as well as internal people. So we are doing what we can through messaging, tone from the top, hiring, but also making sure that we are not forgetting the basic data. So there are metrics we internally have. And hopefully we will be representative one day of the population, which is 50-50.
Yes, and more power to you. And we certainly hope that we see that number and that target being achieved. Always a pleasure, Hitendra. Many thanks for joining us here on Future Female Forward. Thanks very much for your time and for your partnership.
HSBC presents CNBC-TV18 Future Female Forward, the Women's Collective. TV18 Future Female Forward, the Women's Collective.
Welcome back. We now bring you a very special conversation with HSBC women leaders. At the core is the big concern of gender parity at workplace. Despite the growing recognition of the contribution of women at work, they continue to be underrepresented across sectors and divisions, both at managerial and leadership levels. Today, we connect with women leaders from HSBC to dive deep into the need for gender parity at workplace, factors supporting growth of women professionals, importance of embedding gender diversity and inclusion as an organizational strategy, and finally, gaining first-hand insight on the journey of becoming leaders in a sector that is traditionally associated with men. To discuss this and more, I have with me an esteemed panel. Please welcome Anita Mishra, the Head of Markets, Pranjal Bhandari, Chief India Economist, Archana Chadda, Head of HR, Aloka Majumdar, Head of Corporate Sustainability, and Roona Bakshi, Head of Global Trade and Receivables Finance. Welcome, ladies. And let me start with you, Anita. You know, the pandemic has increased the adoption of tech and digital over the last couple of years. Do you believe that women now are more agile as far as tech adoption goes, and again will adopt technology and the changing business dynamics quickly now?
Absolutely. And I mean, if you see the genesis and in the past of tech and digitalization itself, it's a few decades old, and it kind of synchronizes with when women really started coming into the main work stream, so to say. And I think tech is a huge leveler, because what tech offers, and this is not just across gender, but whether it's differentially able or whether it's pride, what tech offers is inclusivity. So decades back, people who've read, in my profession, people who've read Michael Lewis and The Liar's Poker would have images of investment bankers who are, shouting in the pit, rolled up sleeves and the thing. And from there to coming to, today's world where everything is, digital and through the, through platforms, I think is a great leveler and should definitely increase diversity at workforce.
All right. Pranjal, quickly coming to you now. The BFSI sector strongly focuses on some key principles, as forming strategic partnerships, enhancing customer experience and customer management, and much more. Do you believe, and I want to know, how far have women come along now as far as acing these traits go?
Yeah, I think the skill set women naturally inherently have actually make them very well suited for this sector. Let me just give you a few examples.
Sure.
One is this whole customer-centric sort of a behavior, the kind of different responsibilities that women juggle with, from like children to partners to parents. My sense is that they can really tailor-make responses catering to different people. Then there is a lot of diversity, right? We know that groups and teams which have a lot more diversity come out with fresher, more innovative solutions. Yeah. At a time when the future of work is going to change a lot because of AI, digitization, you need people who are nimble, who are agile, who are flexible. And I think women are inherently that, given that they're constantly juggling between so many responsibilities at home and at workplace. So I think there's a very good fit.
Absolutely. Interesting points made there, and we'll delve deeper into what you just said. But let me go to Archana quickly. Archana, change is now underway. Women today form a majority part of the financial services industry. In fact, a Deloitte report projects that the share of female executives will grow from 22% to 31% by 2030. How does a diversified team, enable a company to reach and engage better with its clients, with its customers and its stakeholders?
Diversity is really important for any organization, whether it is a country, whether it is a state, or whether it is HSBC, right? And there's lots of research which shows that whether it is men or women, the kind of skills that they bring into the workplace are extremely different, and they complement each other, especially from a perspective of risk taking as well as collaboration. There is also a research which shows that organizations which have got a fair representation of women at senior levels or across the organization actually have products which are launched in the market at a very rapid pace, and they are more innovative over a 2-year time frame. So clearly, it does show that, having more women in the workplace is helping us benefit the organization as well as the economy. And to add on to what Pranjal said, our customers are more women-centric now. We're seeing so many more women becoming our customers. And therefore, we feel if we've got a workforce that is able to have a similar makeup to our customer base, we can communicate better, as simple as that.
It's often believed that women, when they are in managerial and, in leadership positions, there is an increase, there's an improvement in a company's corporate social responsibility, being, be it better environment, being taken care of employees in a better way. How accurate is it for your own company, HSBC, and what lessons can other companies withdraw from you to sort of create a similar model?
We believe in enhancing diversity as an organization. And when I'm talking about enhancing diversity, it's basically to bring in new ideas and which will unlock, which will unlock creativity, which will also foster development and growth, not just from an individual perspective, but also for the larger company as well. I think for HSBC, you said, models. I'll just mention 2 facts, Shruti. One is that when we are working with the community, we look at geographies which are diverse and difficult. That's one piece. And the second is that the target audience that you're reaching out to, they're the most vulnerable. It can be primitive tribals, it can be your transgenders, and amongst others. So that's going to be a very, very crucial factor for us when we work in the community investment space.
Runa, I want to ask you this, that, more women in leadership and management roles, do you believe that creates a space for empowering women who are perhaps at the middle and the lower management level to continue to innovate and to continue to continue working? Do you think that, sorts of create a very positive environment for women who are at the mid-level?
It really is about, the role models that you have in the industry and that, women look up to. And if we look at the BFSI industry as such, I think it has led the way in terms of, having a more equitable representation in senior leadership over the years. If I look back at, if I go back to when I started my career, even then there were very, inspiring women leaders in this industry. So as a sector, we've not had any dearth of role models. And I think that is really what shapes the future and the next generation to sort of look up to a playbook that, somebody's made it possible, and therefore you can actually charter that territory. And I think it's absolutely essential to have that kind of senior leadership which inspires the next lot of women to want to aspire to get there.
All right. Aloka, coming back to you, and you sort of hinted that in your answer, with more and more companies now inclining and investing towards ESG, would you suggest that if the business paradigm is drastically going to shift towards prioritizing environmental sustainability and social justice, it can no longer be dominated by a single demographic?
I think what is very important in this is that we don't look at ESG as compliance. I think the big difference, if you say from our perspective, if you see that we not looking at ESG as compliance, but more as an opportunity. I think that's going to be very, very critical in the coming days. Another thing that we're looking at, how you integrate sustainability considerations in your business priorities. That's something which is going to be crucial as it is, and that's how your future of your business is going to look like.
And one final topic that I want to discuss, and I would want to start with Runa, that at a Goldman Sachs Global Investing research report found that in India, loan rejection rates for women-owned SMEs is double of that of men, and this is much higher than in other countries. What I want to know is, first, your thoughts on that, and then what is SHBC doing, focusing on to empower women entrepreneurs?
Firstly, it stems from the significant stereotyping that still is widely prevalent in our society. And women are not naturally seen to be risk takers. They're not even encouraged to be risk takers. So if you, turn towards entrepreneurship as a woman, you are in most cases likely to be taken less seriously than your male counterparts. I think another very important key factor is the fact that the way our loan system has developed, especially for small businesses, it is very collateral based. And if you look at the data around the property titles in favor of women in this country, the proportion is very small. So it does lead to the fact that there is a wide gap in the credit access that women entrepreneurs have versus their male counterparts. They also obviously struggle with access to a network of peers, mentors, role models. Last year in 2022, we actually launched a female entrepreneurship fund of over $1 billion covering 11 markets, including India. We also recognize that it's not just about the financial support. So we run programs which are exclusively curated towards developing skills in women entrepreneurs. So one such program is called ROAR, and it allows them access to personalized investment strategy discussions with experienced bankers, an invitation to present to angel investors in our HNI network, as well as masterclasses which are led by women leaders across. And obviously this gives them a lot of exposure. We also cover startup founders who are women to share their journey and just make their success far more visible.
All right. On that note, we'll have to wrap up our conversation. But many thanks to all of you for sharing your insights and, of course, telling us how HSBC is not just empowering its women employees, leadership women, but also women entrepreneurs. Many thanks for all of that. And with that, it's a wrap on this special episode. Many thanks for watching.
HSBC